Okay, good evening and welcome to our community safety update meeting. This is our opportunity number 3 for us to get together with our partners and share out some relevant information and updates about school safety. And so I want to thank those people who have taken time to come out. I see a lot of familiar faces out there. We've got board members and emergency services and Centerville, so lots of familiar faces. But we're going to start off with introductions. Patty Salen, Superintendent.
Helen Bennett, Board of Education member.
Lori Morris, Department of Emergency Services.
Joe Sabori, the Coordinator of School Safety and Security.
Good evening, Lieutenant Mark Meehl, Sheriff's Department, on behalf of Sheriff Hoffman. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Awesome. So we're going to first go with an update, and I'm going to throw that over to Mr. Sabori, who is our school safety representative, and he's going to give an update on where we are, and then there may be some questions and comments from our other panel members, and then we'll open that up for questions.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to start with some questions that were asked the last time that we met, just to kind of cover some of the questions that were asked last time that we met and hopefully provide some answers if we didn't provide them back then. So in no particular order, someone had asked at the last meeting, what happens if law enforcement observes a security violation, meaning like an open door, unsecured door? And we recommend that that person immediately contact the administrator at that school or a teacher that they see around the school and to let them know what they found. And then we'll work with those administrators to find out why the door was unsecured and make sure that hopefully it doesn't happen again. Someone asked about conversations about our school safety drills and what types of conversations that we have. Each school's different, each grade level's different. We encourage our staff to have age-appropriate conversations with their students. So the conversation about a severe weather drill would be a lot different with a first grader than it would be a junior at a high school. So we certainly encourage that. Where can parents access drill language for each grade? Speak with staff is my first recommendation. Take some time during your meetings with the staff, the scheduled meetings, to talk to them about that. All of our drill language can also be found on the Queen Anne's County Public Schools website under the security tab on the home page. So it gives a really detailed breakdown of what each type of drill is, what our responses are, and the language that's associated with those types of drills. Let's see, someone had asked about if our bus drivers receive any type of security training. Back in August, we did another training. I think this was the 3rd or 4th training that our school bus operators have had, where I go in for 30 minutes. I think we do 8 or 10 sessions a day, and we bring in our bus operators and we talk to them about different types of crises or emergencies that they might experience on a school bus, suspicious activity at a bus stop, and some other factors that they would consider when they have children on board the bus. So our school bus operators, our cafeteria employees, our maintenance folks, everybody across the board receives some level of training on safety and security. Since it's Go Purple Month, Ms. Morissette and I had a conversation. I was curious how many doses of Narcan were at each school when I was informed that we had either 1 or 2 doses of Narcan at each school. We got together and didn't think that that was a good amount to have at our schools. We hope that we don't ever need to use a single dose of Narcan at our schools. But thanks to the health department, we're able to now have 5 doses of Narcan at each one of our schools. So updates. We'll talk a little bit about some classroom and building security improvements. I covered a lot of stuff last time we met. I'll cover what we've done over the summer and what we're planning to do moving forward. I mentioned at the last meeting that all of our law enforcement officers in Queen Anne's County, including Maryland Transportation Authority Police, Natural Resources Police, the Maryland State Police, Centerville Police, and the Office of the Sheriff for Queen Anne's County now have 24/7 key card access to all of our schools. And we have encouraged those law enforcement agencies to pop in anytime they want If it's raining out and they want to shoot some basketballs on midnight shift, they're welcome to do that. Just lock the door behind you. You need to use the restroom or anything like that, we would certainly encourage you to do that as well. But please feel free to our law enforcement partners to stop by these schools, introduce yourselves, walk through the halls, check in with the front office first, walk through the halls, check on some doors and things of that nature. We love seeing law enforcement at our schools, and we appreciate what you do. We have a date scheduled to have some additional security cameras that are going to be installed at our high schools that give us a really good view of incoming and outbound traffic at those locations. We've got a really great camera system in place in all of our schools, interior and exterior, but we wanted something a little wider from the school that we could monitor inbound traffic, whether it's pedestrian traffic or vehicular traffic. So we have an installation date at one of our high schools on October the 9th. Mr. Pinder's shaking his head yes, so I might be right on that. One big change that we had that we decided on, the superintendent and I spoke about this and we both agreed. Historically, when our classes were changing in our schools, we were allowing visitors to access our schools. We have changed that now. There's a new law in effect, new policy in effect, that when our students are changing classes in the hallways and may be most vulnerable to an intruder, there is no access now to our schools. So all of our front office staff and our administrative teams know that I don't care how, life is full of inconveniences. You can quote me on that. And we're going to be inconvenienced to keep people safe. So if it means somebody has to wait outside of a door for an extra 3 minutes until we can get our kids situated inside their classrooms with their doors shut and locked, then that's what we're going to do. So to the public that might be watching tonight, we appreciate your patience on that. But this is about your kids, and we appreciate your patience while you wait till we get them situated. We had some major construction projects over this summer. I don't want to steal Mr. Pinder's thunder, but as it relates specifically to security, there were 2 single-point security access entrances that were built at Queen Anne's County High School and Kennard Elementary School. Those types of entrances are vital to the security of those buildings, and we will continue to move forward with those types of construction projects to attempt to keep our kids and our staff safe. The Alertus mass notification system was installed. It was a huge project over the summer. Alertus is a mass notification system that we had invested in for our school district. There are marquee signs, LED scrolling signs, and alert beacons that make noise now installed. There's three of them at each of our schools. Along with those alert beacons, there's some other safety features that were implemented to include panic buttons that were installed at each school. So we have 2 panic buttons at each school, and we have also gone and installed panic buttons at each of our portable classrooms. And I'll talk a little bit more about portable classrooms in just a few minutes. We're now conducting monthly radio tests. Each of our schools, if you guys aren't aware, each of our schools all have their own internal radio systems. In other words, they're little walkie-talkies. And some of them range from some really nice radios, and some of them look like something that you would buy off of a Radio Shack catalog. So we are working very hard to purchase one radio that is universal to each school. So if Kent Island High School is playing Queen Anne's County High School in sports, and Kent Island's team comes up with their staff to play Queen Anne's, then they can switch and all operate on the same radio channel. So we're encouraging that. It also gives us the ability to have schools that have campuses and complexes pretty close together, like the 2 Sudlersville schools and the 2 Mattapique schools. They can actually talk directly to one another on those radios. They all have their own radio channels. But we're also using the same radio that our DES friends have and the police department, sheriff's office. The school district has a radio like that. with the capabilities to transmit much further than what the small in-house radios do. On September 5th, the beginning of this month, we actually began to do a radio test. The Board of Education has 3 radio channels assigned to us. We use one, and that is to talk to our school bus drivers. So at the beginning of this month, we actually began to test our radios, and we went down the line alphabetically from each school and did a radio test. That type of communication is critical if there was ever an incident where we needed to notify multiple schools and have boots on the ground types of conversations. So we're going to continue to monopolize the use of that type of radio system moving forward. Our TIPS reporting site, we're still using the Safe Schools Maryland TIPS reporting database. There's flyers to the left of Dr. Salen's. I would encourage any of you that are not familiar with this TIPS reporting database to grab a flyer. Earlier I guess it was probably 2 weeks ago, we began to push information back out to our students and our staff and their parents on Safe Schools TIPS reporting. We sent a letter home to parents, and then we followed that with a letter to high school age students. And it's kind of the traditional, if you see something, say something, and we gave some a little additional information on that. So if you hadn't seen that letter, if you're not a parent, I'd be happy to share that with you, just to encourage school safety and security tips. And it also covers kind of some mental health pieces of it too. If they have a friend that maybe needs some help, it talks a little bit about how to help them out. Just a little bit about training. We continue to practice and train on run, hide, fight. We did scenario-based training, hands-on training, and some refresher. We also had some training back in August on pre-attack indicators as it relates to a possible assailant. So our focus is primarily now on preventive maintenance and potentially stopping any type of violence before it happens. So that's talking about different suspicious activity, different types of behaviors, and things of that nature. And again, our goal is to stop the violence before it starts. We did some crisis simulation training scenarios. Last school year through the end of the school year, we did weekly tabletop scenarios. And then again in August, we did our training with our staff, our supervisors and administrators, and our bus operators. Again, just quickly to talk about the Alertus program. That's our mass notification system. It is fully operational. We are continuing to test our panic buttons that have just been installed, as well as some testing of the system in some other schools. So it is from what I've seen, it's a very durable platform. I was at Kennard Elementary School this morning. We did some tests, and it was really neat to activate the Alertus program at that school with the staff sitting in front of me and watch all of them as their phones all started to light up within seconds after the activation, and to watch their computer screens be taken over with the message, and their emails to start lighting up that they received the message. Scott Haas is here, and he and I have had a conversation about making sure that our Department of Emergency Services is looped in on that as well. So if there's an activation that, we've got everybody on board and all of our first responders are aware of what's going on. And I have followed up with Phil English, so hopefully I'll hear back from him. I'll talk quickly about some grants. This week, the district has applied for 2 grants through the Maryland Center for School Safety. One grant was for about $200,000. Which we're looking at potentially purchasing some additional Alertus hardware and some other items that we're going to put into our schools. I'd love to be completely transparent about some of the ideas that we have, but I will not talk about any types of projects that we have that could jeopardize the safety or integrity or security of some of these projects that we have going on. So I appreciate you guys if you would understand that. The second grant was for $25,000. That was submitted yesterday as well. and that is to purchase additional radios, as I alluded to earlier, about having everybody on the same types of comms at each school. We'll talk a little bit about the portable classrooms. We are continuing to enforce locked doors at all of our portable classrooms. We will routinely spot check those portable classrooms to make sure that those doors are secured. We have installed emergency panic buttons at each of the each of the portable classrooms. We will be doing some testing of those. I think I'm with Queen Anne's County High School on Friday to test I think it's Friday, or to test those buttons, and Kent Island High School next week. We are looking to purchase additional security cameras that will provide better coverage of our portable classrooms. And that would be an exterior view looking towards the portable classrooms and from the portable classrooms looking out. Our goal is to actually install monitors inside of the portable classrooms so that the teachers and students can live monitor what's going on outside of those portable classrooms. So that if there's an issue that's going on outside the portable classrooms or approaching those areas, they've got time to react and respond accordingly. The teachers in the portable classrooms have also, and this was not done before, but each of them have also been provided handheld radios that they can talk directly to their administrative teams. So if their cell phone is unreliable, they call the front office and there's no answer at the front office desk, they can take their radio out of their charger and immediately contact an administrator at that school to make them aware of what an issue might be. Earlier this week, I released a document to both high schools with some techniques on how to better reinforce the portable classroom doors, as well as some techniques that can be used by students and teachers to better fortify the interior of those portable classrooms. And we will continue to have discussions during our monthly and bi-monthly conference calls with the Maryland Center for School Safety and some other security groups across the school district that I'm involved with. So I know that was a lot. That was the nutshell version. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have related to that, or if there's any other questions that you'd like to address the board or the panel,
Or if the
whatever we
panel
are.
has anything that they
Yep.
want to share.
I do want to share that I know that the portables usually comes up. That's a question that a citizen usually puts out there. And I went to see Kent Island portables, and it was with Principal Harding and with Mr. Sabori. And I was just really impressed with how many redundancies we have in place. A lot of things we can't talk about, but, as I had a few minutes before the meeting started, so I was walking around, and a teacher did come out and ask me who I was and if they could help me, so that was good. I watched 3 or 4 students try to get in, and every single door was locked. When we talked to you, I was able to hear about the trainings, like I said, the redundancies, the things that are in place that we really can't share, but it was really assuring to me. And as a parent and as a Board of Education member and being so concerned about every single one of our students, that a lot of the portable classrooms seem better fortified than some of the buildings. They've really put a lot of thought and preparation into it, and so I think it's a great job. So glad to have Mr. Sabori on hand, and such a great relationship with the police and the sheriff's department and emergency services. I was really reassured by going through that, and we've done some training too, so it was a really good, informative, reassuring meeting, so thank you.
One other thing that I'll just add, and I had it in the bottom of my notes here, is if you visit a school when that school is about to conduct a school safety drill, you're not getting out. You are going to become part of that school safety drill. So those of you that might be watching or listening at home, I have instructed our administrative teams at each school that there's no timeout in a crisis. So if a contractor's there, there's a visitor there, there's a parent there, somebody delivering flowers for their awesome teacher, you are going to become part of the drill. And that those administrators and teachers at that school are going to quickly educate those visitors on what their response should be.
Very good. So if nobody has anything else on the panel, we'll open it up. We did have one comment, which was related to the traffic at Ken Island High School. And I will say that we have been working as a team, Mr. Sabori, the principal there, Dan Harding, Mr. Pinder's been involved, as well as the Sheriff's Department, to try to resolve some of those issues there, the congestion there. We have been rerouting kids and doing some different things, really trying to put our attention there to see what will really work to make the situation the best. So we do have that on our forefront of what we've been working on, and we'll continue to work on it as we move through. So are there any questions from the audience? Sure.
I can be loud. So. Thank you, Carrie. So this question came from a friend of mine, asked me to ask it tonight on her behalf because I did not have an answer myself. If there is an incident at any of the schools, how will parents be notified? Is it dependent on the school, or is it like an overall general system? How does that work?
So typically, it would vary on the nature of the incident. Usually, if it's an incident that's contained at that school and doesn't affect the entire district, then the notification would come from that principal. If it's a incident that maybe would affect another school that's close by, or maybe it happened on the bus and it's going to affect multiple schools, that would probably come from the district. So really, it's a case-by-case basis. Each school and the board office here has templates to release information, and most of the time that's vetted by me and the superintendent before it goes out.
All right, thank you.
I did want to add something to that. Sometimes a situation will take place and it involves something maybe that's not at the school base itself and is related to maybe another law enforcement, and they're in the midst of doing an investigation or something, and sometimes it's difficult for us to get information out during that time because we might jeopardize what actually would happen as a result of their investigation. So I know sometimes parents say, well, how come I wasn't notified right away? And it's a lot of times that's under advice from our partners in law enforcement who are saying, please don't say anything right this minute, secure your building and let us do what we need to do in the community part of things, you know, that type of thing, so that we don't jeopardize what they're actually doing. Probably didn't say that as well as Mr. Sabor would.
No, I think that's a really great point too, because that is something that we've experienced is, you know, Facebook has become the new ESPN and Fox News and CNN, and a lot of times the information that's going to come as a shock is unreliable on those types of platforms. And like the superintendent said, I mean, a lot of times, you know, we have to notify parents of maybe an incident that's going on, or that we're working with the sheriff's office or the police department or emergency services to try to figure it out exactly what it is that we're dealing with, or that we need to know a disposition. But what I can assure you is we are not doing nothing in those cases, but we have to let these things, give them their due diligence. And I can promise you that as soon as we're capable of releasing that information to parents or to the public, we're going to do it.
And sometimes the turnaround time is very, very quickly. So we had an example last year where we had a school that was in lockdown, but we had like 4 minutes between the time that they told us for us to get them locked down till the time they called back to say, you can lift up that lockdown, because they had resolved their issue that quickly. So sometimes, you know, then you have a school that was kind of locked down and then taken out of lockdown, and parents were like, wait a second, I didn't even know. And I don't know that they always understand the timeline that we're working on. And as great as our templates are, we want to make sure that if we're going to communicate, that we do that in a very, you know, good way. So we're not going to be haphazard and throw something together to put out to parents. We want to make sure that every bit of information we have is accurate at the time, so that we don't send out misinformation like they do online. So we take it very seriously, and as Mr. Sabori said, every second of that we are doing. The school base is working, and our team up here is working to make sure that as soon as we can put out communications, we will do that. Other questions? Great question. Mr. Pender.
I don't have a question, but I just want to make make a comment that we were also able, along with the alertus, we were able to install 4 schools with the cell phone boosters that go throughout. So the connectivity, that was a question that came up last meeting. So we were able to handle 4 of those schools, and the game plan is the next fiscal year to do 4 more on that.
Thank you, Mr. Pender. Okay, so we don't have any questions that are coming in on our feed. I think we've answered all of our questions that have been presented. I do want to say that our website is a really good resource. Continue to use that. And also, if you ever have a question, please reach out. Every single person on this panel, if it's emergency services, sheriff's department, even Centerville, anytime you have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out, especially at the school-based level. Your contact person is your principal. They absolutely 100% welcome anybody coming in, making a meeting with them. If they have questions specifically about their child or their, the environment there, they're always happy to help. And so we really are transparent as we can be, as Ms. Bennett was sharing, that we can't always share everything, but we're as transparent as we can be, and we certainly welcome anybody coming in and asking questions, emailing us or anything. So happy to help. Okay.
If I may add
Yeah,
one thing,
sure.
Superintendent. On behalf of Sheriff Hoffman, he advised me to pitch that we are hiring for school resource officers. So any lateral or police officers out there or those who get ready to retire, we're hiring full-time school resource officers. We are fortunate in this jurisdiction in Queen Anne's County to work in a great county. All allied agencies communicate and collaborate daily. So we're very in tune to each other, and we work with each other very, very well. So I appreciate the relationships we have with all of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for coming out. Every evening opportunity is, a time with family. So we appreciate you coming out and spending time with us today. So thank you. Thank you, panel
Thank you.
members.